Hello, everyone. So glad to see all of you. Hi, Zevia. Hi, Christina. Good seeing you. I haven't seen you in a while. Hi, Crystal. Very nice seeing you. Dr. Sanders. Hi, Ryan is in the house. All right. Good morning, Mary. Hi, Joan. Joaquin is here. Dr. Galliano.
Of course, good to see you.
Yay! We have Dean and Lisa. I think there's Reve. I believe that's how you pronounce the name. Good to see all of you. We will start. I'd love for you to grab a sheet of paper if that's okay. In our last session, we had a participant driving, so if you don't do anything that is unsafe. And if you don't have paper, that's fine. You have a brilliant mind, and I'm sure you will learn from our session nevertheless. So we will start in about 60 seconds. I'd also like for those of you who have a sheet of paper, I also like for you to think about a song or a poem related to family, friendship, or teamwork. What song or poem comes to mind for that? And we will start in just a few seconds. So we have our paper. Would anyone like to unmute and bless us with a song we might add to our playlist that has anything to do with family, friendship, teamwork?
Do we get to sing, Tanisha?
Yes, for you, Joan.
I'm just kidding. You do not want me to sing. I actually have 4 songs that I put on my list. We Are Family. That's what friends are for. Lean on Me, and You Got a Friend.
Oh, wow. You've got 2 of the ones that I thought about. Joan, you're such an overachiever. I see some head nods. We can relate to some of the songs. Thank you. Any others?
Lean on me for me, John. So we're in the same boat. Yeah.
Yes. How about the OJs? Anyone except me, a lover of the OJs? I don't see any head nods. Okay. And It's a Family Reunion. Yeah. Okay. Drake. No New Friends. Right? The importance of loyalty to your core, those who were riding with you from the beginning. All right. Okay, so that's a connection piece. Thank you for those who participated. There are some unfamiliar faces that I welcome in community with us today. So for those of you who don't know, I am Tanisha Taylor, and I work within Palm Springs Unified as a coordinator of intervention. So that looks like school culture and climate initiatives like restorative practices, positive behavior interventions and supports, trauma-informed classrooms, social emotional learning. And I work with school teams and interventionists like the elementary school counselors, the school deans, and the behavior paraprofessionals. And so I am a restorative practices trainer and have been for over 5 years now. And also recently, within the past couple of years, a trauma and resistance trainer and coach. So what we're focusing on is how we show up in relationships. And so what does being restorative look like with others and also with ourselves? Common definitions for common understanding. When I refer to community, it's the Merriam-Webster's definition, dictionary definition. And I really am referring to a group of people with common characteristics and interests within, they're a part of a larger society. So while there's community, there's also personal community. And so when we look at how we're showing up, I want you to focus primarily on your loved ones within your personal community. And sometimes those that are in our professional community have become part of our personal lives, and that's fine too. So not all of us are Palm Springs Unified School District employees. Not all of us have the same roles. We all, operate outside of our personal community, but I am under the impression that if you do well by those that you are close to and you're connected to, then it might be a little bit easier to be in community and have mutually beneficial relationships with those that you don't necessarily choose to be in community with, those that are in our professional lives. So when we think about personal community, it's with the understanding that it involves a high amount of trust, and our personal community provides a strong reliance of support and approval. We need both. We need affirmation from the people that we love to know that we're on the right path, to affirm us as people, period, right? And also to provide that support that we need to grow and be the best version of ourselves. We don't want to be in community with people who are neglectful or permissive and allow us to show up in ways that are not respectful, with others. It also requires individual and collective responsibility. So our one focus for today is how we may use key restorative practices to maintain healthy relationships within our personal communities. It's Dr. Muhammad. For those of you that were in session with him, you'll recognize some of the principles that he mentioned earlier. Fist to 5, and I'm going to scroll through my gallery here. When I say restorative practices, a fist to me means I'm thoroughly confused. I have no idea what you're talking about, right? A 1 is I'm a little bit better than thoroughly confused. I'm confused, right? And then 3, I have a basic understanding, and 5 is Tanisha, take a seat, take several seats. I got this, I'm the expert, right? So give me a fist all the way to 5, your familiarity with restorative practices. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Ryan. I see you, Christina. All right, thank you. Thank you, Crystal. All right, I saw you, Zevia. Okay, so when I say restorative practices, I mean building and maintaining healthy relationships that result in inclusive and supportive environments. I like to hover over inclusive a bit here, because when I say inclusive, it has, I don't just necessarily mean, I mean belonging in a sense, but I really mean that you don't have to leave who you really are at the door, right? It means that I could be my whole self and be included and valued. That's what I mean. I don't mean that you have to conform, assimilate to, dominant structures, ways of thinking and being. I don't mean that in order to belong. I don't mean sacrifice who you are in order to be in environments with people. I mean that you could show up as your best version of yourself, and your core values, and be respected. So inclusive and supportive environments. That's what restorative practices is about. So when I mention that, I want you to understand that's what I mean. All right, so think of our team, who you ride with, right? Your family, your core, your tribe, right? They look like they're about to do damage the way that they present themselves, right? Look like they're, ready, full steam ahead, right? But this one here, if you see me hovering, it's the guy in the back on the left side, if you're looking, he's the one doing all the work, right? And my man in the front has no idea what's going on all the time. My man right here is clueless. And so then we have the one in the back with the glasses. He's my favorite. He says he's going to help. Right? Oh, call me when you need me. Call me if you need me. I got you. All right. Okay. But he doesn't. And then to the far right, he disappears at the very beginning and doesn't show up again to the very end. So he's in essence, not really effective and can't rely on him, right? Does that kind of look like sometimes how we're in community with others? Is it just me? I've been in situations like that. Okay. And some of you might be thinking, oh, that's that dude I work with, right? Right. That's him. He's the one doing all the work all the time and not really allowing contributions from others, right? But again, yes, you can think about professionally, but I want you to think about your personal community. Here, before we kind of look into see how that even connects, got your paper? Yeah, okay. Yep, I see you, Sandra's got her paper. Okay, Crystal. So you got your paper. Thank you, Ryan and Diana. Go ahead, hot dog style. And if you're a primary teacher, you probably hate that I just said that because I'm not using academic language. All right, and this is a hot dog. All right, go ahead and fold it, and we're gonna fold it into fourths. Thank you, Joan. All right, so we have 4 quadrants, and I want you to think of the x-axis as connection. So the horizontal, so you're thinking about how you're relating horizontally. That's our level of connection. And at the very top right here is challenge. So we need both challenge and high amounts of challenge, and we need connection. So this could be our like graphic or something we use to take notes. So thinking about how we use our authority, how we show up, right? In the top left hand corner is punitive. So we use the preposition to, right? Because when we're in relationships, we do things to others, to our loved ones. We have a high amount of expectations. We provide a high amount of challenge when we show up this way. And that's good. We need challenge in order to have a sense of mastery. That's remarkable, right? But without support and encouragement, the impact becomes punitive. So our focus really here, when we relate this way, is compliance. And if we're thinking about our kids, right? If we raise our kids that way, it might look like this. Do what I said and do it right away, right? Don't think about it. Just do what I said on the strength of my word, because I said so, right? So a high amount of challenge, but not much encouragement or support. So people feel like, I just got to do what you said because you said it, and I don't want to hear your mouth anymore, or I don't want to get in trouble. So this is how you impact others when we're here. I'm going to skip around here and go right here to this bottom right hand corner. That's the polar opposite, because here we have a high amount of challenge, but little to no connection. Here's the reverse. We got all the connection in the world, but not a lot of challenge. And those of us that are in the helping professions, I know Joaquin, and mental health therapist. I know Zevia is in school, finishing up to be a school psychologist, and some others of us. If that's our job, is to help nurses, even teachers, right? That's our job, to help. But if it's out of balance and what we're doing is mostly connecting and not providing much challenge, then we're permissive. And so we make excuses for others. They can't do it. It'll only frustrate them. Give them something that they can do, right? You don't want to see people hurt. So you shoulder the responsibility and make excuses for others instead of sharing the load providing the challenge and giving the support. When people are in spaces with you, be it our friends, be it our children, our loved ones, right? They usually don't gain much independence or mastery when we show up this way, obviously, because they don't need to. They may, in spite of us, but why would I need to gain a sense of mastery when you're doing it? You're doing all the work. The leader, believe it or not, is often well-liked. So Diana, let's say, her children, always want to go over to this one friend's house because the mother is so cool. She's chill, mom. Right? I don't know what your problem is. She lets us do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z, right? They're well-liked. We are well-liked. Let's stop talking about other people now. We are well-liked, but not really well-respected. Polar opposites. How about here? Neglectful. And I know some of us are thinking about, I'm thinking about my husband, I'm thinking about my spouse, I'm thinking about, my best friend or my neighbor. No, let's keep thinking about ourselves, right? To what degree are we neglectful when we show up in spaces? And we do have a dominant style, believe it or not. Guess what? Nobody admits that they're here. This is where people will admit, I'm mostly punitive. Sometimes we admit here, but no one ever wants to say I'm neglectful, most in generally. No one raises a hand to that. It really looks like a lack of consistency. And so does here, right? But here it's extremely unsafe, both emotionally and physically. There are no boundaries, no connection. There's lack of consistency. People are not engaged with each other. So what it looks like is you're withdrawn, right? It's a high amount of stress. Let's go back, because here's an example. Anyone want to unmute and tell us which one of these people on the team would fall under being neglectful? No connection, no challenge.
Is it the guy that disappears?
It could be Christina, right? He's disappearing at the very beginning and doesn't show up till the very end. I don't know if you've been in spaces with people or you've been that person where it's time to celebrate, right? But you weren't there during the hard times or in the in-between times, but you're saying, oh, look at my boy. Look at my boy. He's, graduated. Oh, look at my boy. He's playing football. But you weren't taking him to football games. You weren't sitting there doing the work with them to help him graduate, right? So that's definitely could be considered neglectful. My man right here is neglectful, y'all. But he isn't showing up as obviously neglectful, right? Because he says he's going to help. But he doesn't. So that's neglectful, right? And that's what I want to get back to. So we have to be aware of how we're showing up. And sometimes our biases are revealed when we're neglectful for some. Like we see the pain, we see the struggles in others, but we're not connected, nor are we providing any support or challenge, right? And we're that way for others, but we, shoulder all the responsibility for yet another group. So think about, this may be new to some of you, but think about, yes, we have a dominant style, but we do show up differently in spaces with others. And you want to check that too. Why? Why am I punitive with some and permissive with others? Sometimes we're socialized to do that. Here, sometimes we're socialized to be harder on our boys, right? I'll suck it up. He'll get over, right? And more permissive if they do the very same things. So let's check that within ourselves because we want to strive to be restorative. what we call, the preposition we use is with. Now I'm thinking about it. Did I tell you the wrong prepositions to put in? Oh no, never mind. That might have been the last session. All right, so with is using affective language, and we'll do that. We'll practice a bit, and some of you may already be familiar. But here is the spirit of collaboration. Your voice matters. Contribute, share. We're working together for a common goal. So there's high standards. The challenge is there, just like here. That's the commonality. When you're punitive and you're restorative, you're equally challenging. But the difference is you're also providing the high amount of connection and support. Please feel free to unmute yourself. Diana and Sandra are monitoring the chat. So if there's questions that come along, I'm not of the mindset or the style where wait to the very end, because some of us just want our questions answered right now and I want to wait to the end. So please feel free to do that. So again, we're thinking about how we're showing up in spaces. That's our one focus. We're going to focus on 2 practices that will help us achieve that goal. And that's looking at our needs. Many of you are, pretty proficient with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? We've all heard of that. That's basic psychology classes. We got that, right? Many would say that Maslow borrowed from the indigenous people that use the whole circle of courage framework, ideology, to also communicate that we all have universal needs. For those of you, never mind, I was going to say thumbs up if you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of need, but many of us are participating without our cameras. So I want you to understand that these needs are universal. And so think about our circle. We have all of these needs. And when one of our needs are not met, the terms we use is that our circle is broken. So everyone needs to belong, and we talked about that earlier. So when we're in spaces with people and in our personal community, we need to know that, yeah, these are, people that, have common goals, like-minded, we ride together, all of those things, right? And without giving up who you are. I am not saying that you need to belong with everybody in every group, but those who you belong with, you need to be affirmed that, yeah, you you matter, and that should be very evident. Belonging. When that is broken, we are often figuring out or trying to get to like this sense of safety, especially emotional. And many people, and again, I'm not a psychologist and I don't pretend to be one. I'm not a mental health therapist and I don't pretend to be one. That's why we have Joaquin here. But even in neutral interactions, right? That's because some people would say, oh, be neutral and that's enough. But when we don't have a sense of belonging, it isn't enough. Because I could say, good morning, Diana. Hi, Joan. Good morning, Christina. And if Christina felt like, I don't see myself in any, in this space at all. She said good morning, but she didn't seem enthusiastic. She said good morning. She didn't wave though. I didn't see a smile. So she, like when you don't feel like you belong, it goes, it's back and forth with that sense of, am I really safe here? And I want to emphasize it's real and or perceived. It's the felt safety. It does not matter that I'm greeting you at the door. It doesn't matter that I'm inviting you, over my house. It doesn't matter that I'm, on the outside looking hospitable and kind. If I don't feel it, then it's not enough. So that happens when my sense of I'm belonging, that need is unmet, my circle is broken there. Generosity. I need to know that, when I'm with my people, my tribe, in my personal community, that I'm giving and it's valued. So what I have to offer is valued, and I could give of my time, my skills, my effort, my money sometimes, right? I need to feel that. Also, even though I'm in a group, I'm on a team, I need to have some autonomy. I need to have some decision-making where I could, even though maybe the goal is fixed, how I go about the goal, I can, be in charge of that sense of independence. And also mastery. I need to know that, things that I'm good at, things that I'm interested in, I could be really good at. Our circle of courage, the 4 universal needs, right? So that's the one important practice. I'm going to move into the second one in a minute. Please realize that I'm aware, if you're not familiar with this, I don't expect you to be ready to write a paper on it. It's an introduction is something that you need to be aware of with regards to understanding our needs, and also communicating our feelings and our needs to our loved ones. I call them affective statements because, okay, I'm moving the gallery over. I call them affective statements because it would be your feelings that you are naming, but also your need. And oftentimes, a behavior-specific request is required. Sometimes it's not, but oftentimes it is, especially if you're just beginning to use this particular practice with your loved ones. I would say give them a behavior-specific request. And if it's something that you find that their baseline is here, I'm kind of giving them a whole lot. Yeah, I do need to give them a request, or they don't even probably know where to begin. You haven't communicated that, tell them, right? That's step 3. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, and I need some time to process. Would you give me some space? Would someone unmute themselves and identify the feeling?
Feeling overwhelmed.
Thank you so much. And so what's the need?
And the speed they're going,
Space.
it's gonna take them weeks.
Absolutely, Christina. That is the behavior-specific request. I'm asking you to give me some space. My need is time to process.
A place
Right?
to feel safe.
Say it again.
A place to feel safe.
Absolutely. It absolutely does. And when you go here, let's go back to our circle of courage. If I'm feeling overwhelmed and I tell you I need some time to process, it may be because what you're telling me could be something that it's too heavy laden on, maybe control or whatever. I might be asking, it might be that I need independence and my circle is broken there. It's not enough information to really conclude that that's it, but that may be it. Thank you so much for, let's do another one. The affective statement includes the feeling, I'm feeling confused, and I need time to review. Could you please go back to your last point? And that's when we're in relationship. I know for me, when I'm in relation, or I'm often the person, my sister, my lovely sister, right, will call and I'm unloading on her, telling her, I need to do this, that, and the other, or whatever. And she loses, after my 10th thing that I told her, she's like, wait, I'm confused. I need time to review. Could you, wait, could you go back to your last point, right? And so if this is like a common theme, right, it may play into our sense of mastery. I gotta get better at whatever. So this is how my circle of courage is broken. Not always, but that is definitely an example of how you could express your feelings to your loved one, a need, and a behavior-specific praise statement. I'll do one more. I'm frustrated. Any of you frustrated lately? Yeah. I'm frustrated because I want to contribute. Would you please allow me to play a role in planning this birthday party? Generosity comes to mind. Circle of courage can be broken here. Sometimes you don't have to give the behavior specific request. I could just say, I'm frustrated because I want to contribute. And if it's a mutually beneficial relationship, then whoever I'm in community with might be a conversation. Oh, what do you need to do? Hey, I really want you to send out these invitations, or would you be a part of the cleanup crew? If you don't have a specific behavior request, then you don't have to give one, but you've expressed your feeling and your need. And when we're talking about restorative practices, you're doing that affective statements. It's on the front end of the continuum of the practice. The last piece, the most time intensive, people intensive, is when we're circling up and when we're conferencing, when harm has been committed. I'm wanting to really focus on the front end, not necessarily just on restorative justice. And I don't want to say just, because restorative justice is needed and it's powerful, but I'm thinking about the continuum of practices. Before we move on, I want to point out that with our loved ones, if we're only discussing our feelings when there's been a negative impact, that's not going to be helpful in the long run. We have to spend time sharing how people are positively impacting us. And also, when they're negatively impacting. But if we don't make those deposits of when they're positively impacting us, then the outcome could be a sense of, I don't want to work too hard to repair this harm because, that it's not a strong enough conditions already to make that happen. So an example, and a real example now, is I feel encouraged because of your participation. And there's a period. I don't have a behavior specific request. I just want to let you know the impact you guys are having on me. I am so encouraged because of your participation today. All right. Here is a saying. It's the in Lakesh way, commonly attributed to the Mayans, right? The understanding, I keep using loved ones, is purposeful because sometimes when we're in conflict, we forget that, these are the people that we choose to have in our lives, right? Our friends, when there's conflict, our family members and things like that. So I'm using loved ones to remind you that you love them. That they serve a purpose in your lives, right? So if we remember this, that we need each other, we're in community with each other, and it's mutually beneficial, that is really helpful. So I would love someone to recite this with me. So can I get a volunteer to come off mute? Joaquin, would you like to do the English or the Spanish?
How about I do the Spanish?
Diana smiling because she knows we were in the last the service, like we're in church. We were in the last session. And I think those that I was in community with in the last session, Joaquin, I think they underestimated me. And let me go back. And my sense of mastery and maybe even belonging was jeopardized because they assumed that I would only do the English, that somehow I would butcher the Spanish so horribly. Just kidding. I'm glad you took the Spanish because I really would feel a little bit nervous. Thank you, Joaquin.
My pride.
All right, so you start with In Lakesh and then I'll read the next one and then we'll go like that.
Tú eres mi otro yo.
You are my other me.
Si te hago daño a ti,
if I do harm to you,
me hago daño a mí mismo.
I do harm to myself.
Si te amo y respeto,
If I love and respect you,
me amo y me respeto yo.
I love and respect myself. Excellent. Thank you so much, Joaquin, for participating and doing that just on the spot. I appreciate that. In our families, we have certain, obviously traditions specific to our families and a little extension specific to our cultures and within our personal communities. One of the sayings that like my family just knew was, and maybe some of you can relate, what happens in this house stays in this house, right? And so like if somebody was running off at the mouth too much or sharing, my mom would just, what happens in this house stays in this house, right? So it became like a saying that was specific to our family and an extension probably of a larger culture. So you are another me is a reminder that, look, I want to build you up. I want to encourage you. I want to do well by you because you are another me. And that's personal. But in our professional lives and those of us who are in the classroom or have access to classrooms or students or even our staffs, how many of you use affirmations? A couple of us. Yeah. I would use them spontaneously. In our classes and on the front end, like before, conflict arises or like at the brink of it, maybe, but not in the midst of it. You don't want to, okay, let's affirmations. No, maybe at the beginning of the day or even throughout the day, closing circles so that this is a part of who you are. This is a part of your culture. And so this is an example of maybe how we can build community in that way. All right, here's something like I told you, I've been a restorative practitioner on the journey of it, fairly new, about 5 years. And so here, this is something that I've just learned maybe like a year ago. So I jokingly say like when something is new for me, I say, I learned this yesterday, right? And it is a game changer, Christina. The understanding that my problem could be someone else's solution. And so I can't attribute it to one person, but and if it comes to mind, I will. But that's a game changer for me. Here's an example. If I am pouring out how I'm feeling and what I need to my friend and or loved one, and that person dips, leaves, shakes the spot, however you want to say, right? Just leaves, exited, stage left. When I'm in my feelings, that's problematic for me. But guess what? That person leaving is my loved one's solution. So it's problematic for me when my loved one left in the midst of me sharing my feelings and needs. But that was my loved one's way of coping. So instead of my loved one, interrupting me, sharing, maybe something that's different from what I was feeling and knowing that might make me feel some kind of way, right? Or disagree or curse or argue or whatever, leaving is the better solution for that person at the time. That's that person's coping skill, right? Because that's better than any of the other things that could have been done. Game changer for me. Like, whoa. Right? So for those of you who know this already, you're like, okay, why didn't you know this? Why are you just now learning this? That's great. I'm glad you knew that. But for me, and for those of you that this is new, this idea is new to you, you might start off with something similar. Like when you leave, when I'm sharing my deepest, feelings and emotions, that's a problem for me. Is it your solution? And not in the midst of them leaving, because if you go follow that person and do that, no, that's not good. But in another setting, right? I don't think somebody's blood pressure, typically, mostly, would rise from that statement, right? That can promote some very restorative dialogue and like a common type of experience and mutual understanding is really what I'm trying to say. Any comments? Joan, I see you're unmuted. Do you have? Oh, okay.
I'm struggling with this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my husband's doing work outside. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but
No.
are you suggesting that that's a stated dynamic in your relationship, that if you can't relate to what I'm saying or you have nothing positive to say, just walk away? Because I mean, if that's not a stated thing, I could just see if the person walks away from you while you're, venting and like pouring out your guts, that would be a big problem for me, because I would interpret that as them not caring. So are you suggesting that this is something that you have an understanding that if we, we're all allowed to share what's bothering us, and if we don't have something positive to contribute, it's okay to walk away?
Absolutely not. I'm just going off of what the actions are. And so I'm saying that if that is their response, for some people, it wouldn't be problematic. It would be like, oh, I understand that might be their way of coping, but I don't interpret it that way, Joan. And like you're saying, for me, that's a problem. So I'm not condoning that. I'm just saying that instead of me blaming my loved one, I need to understand that that's the best way. That's the best they could do at that moment. And so us starting that, hey, you walking out when I'm sharing something that's hard for me to share is a problem for me. Is it your solution? Guess what? He may not have realized that impacted, or he or she, right, may not have realized that impacted me. So now she is realizing that. And then I'm understanding that is not meant to be harmful. It's just the best that they could do at that time for whatever reason. Maybe what I said was hurtful for them to hear about what I'm going through or whatever. And so that dialogue would be rich and probably preventative in nature, because it's hopefully not likely to happen if they know that that's a trigger and problematic for me. Thank you, Joan, for helping me to dig.
Thank you very much for clarifying. And I think that makes a whole lot of sense. And I really don't know whether this is even relative to this conversation, but one of the things that I struggle with, especially as a mom, is whether to, moms typically want to just fix. And I think spouses do too, to an extent, but as a mom, you always want to fix. And it's been a difficult journey for me with my kids to, have an understanding that they don't always want me to say or do something to fix it. They just want to be heard. And so, and they want affirmation basically on their feelings. They don't want their mother to say, well, maybe you want to do this instead, or maybe you want. So that's been difficult for me, and I'm getting there, but it's kind of still a struggle a little bit. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're equipped with some basic knowledge now around how in this journey we could understand where we are and how we're showing up, and then get back to, hey, if I'm highly connected but I'm not providing enough challenge, I need to, provide more challenge, or the reverse is true. By the way, my daughter is probably going to hit me with this in a couple of years, or maybe tomorrow. She's probably going to say, Mom, you telling me to stop crying when I'm crying is problematic for me. Is it your solution? And my answer is absolutely, because I don't want to see this little girl crying. So instinctually, I stop crying, like, please make the pain go away. So yeah, it's my solution. Carl Jung. Just so you know, I'm moving the gallery over so I can read it. Carl Jung is quoted for saying, to ask the right question is already half the solution to the problem. Oprah Winfrey co-signs on that and says, ask the right questions and the answers will always reveal themselves. So a part of practicing restoratively is thinking about what happened to you instead of what's wrong with you. And so these scripted questions lead to restorative outcomes. And when I say restorative, I mean there's challenge, but there's connection. We're recorded, so I'm not going to ask you to really engage, but I'm asking you to really think. Think about a time when you caused harm to someone in your personal community. And I don't, yes, Joaquin, I don't want us to share the experience, but Joaquin, what did you?
Tanisha, I'm still thinking about that. Is so true, with that statement about what happened to you versus what's wrong with you. Because when we use that, what's wrong with you, you are already putting that idea that I'm damaged, right? What's wrong with you? So it brings the person, the individual, into a different set of mind when you approach it that way versus I'm damaged, there is something really bad going on with me. So thank you.
Thank you, Joaquin. I appreciate that perspective. It's reintegrative shame. When Dr. Muhammad was speaking about shame, it's reintegrative shame. What you did needs to be discussed, talked about. It could be egregious, it could be unlawful, it could be horrible, it could be all of those things, right? But you as a person have value and worth enough for us to talk about this so that you can understand the impact and come back from it. So it's reintegrative as opposed to stigmatizing. So thinking about it, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. We only have 4 more minutes.
Got it. Yep, we're finishing up. Thank you, Diana. So we're thinking about a time when we caused harm, and I found in spaces, it's much harder to think about a time when we caused harm. People are ready. They are ready to tell us about a time when they were harmed. Oh, let me tell you about this. Oh yeah, and then yesterday, right? But a time when we caused harm to someone in our personal community, then you start in your mind thinking about, oh, but the intent was not to, right? And, it wasn't so bad. And it takes a lot of vulnerability. I know when I was a school administrator and we would engage in restorative dialogue, a few of them would be like, just suspend me. I'll see you in 2 to 3 days. Like, peace out. I'm not about to sit here and pour out my feelings to you and be vulnerable. That is why when I talked about the continuum, really the affective statements, all of that, we really need to be heavy on the front end of initiating, building, and maintaining, so that when people cause harm, they're likely to care enough to sit with you and reflect. So yes, what happened? What were you thinking at the time? What have you thought about since? Who has been affected and in what way? And what do you think needs to be done to make things right. And guess what, y'all? Sometimes we can't make it right. We just have to make it better. So those questions there can be used with kids at all ages, with humans at all ages. Please realize that you have to be willing to engage when you cause harm as well. These, okay. Oh, that was a long 4 minutes, huh? A short 4 minutes. So again, these are this is the review. What happened to you, behavior as communication, and the other 3 principles there. And I want to say thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your interest and your participation. Special shout out to Diana and Sandra for being willing to translate. And because there's no translation, they were helping and supporting. Have a wonderful rest of your day and an awesome weekend. I appreciate all of you.